Thank you, Brian. And you certainly don't have to be Catholic to be excited about the Pope's visit here to the U.S. Today, our Julia Moffitt talked with Kathleen Sprouse-Cummins. She's a Notre Dame professor, and she talked about what this trip means for all of us.
Well, Pope Francis is making the longest journey of his papacy to visit the United States. Today, he will be in Washington, D.C. to meet with President Obama and speak to a joint session of Congress. With us to explain the significance of the Pope's visit is Notre Dame University professor Kathleen Cummins, the director of the Cushwa Center for the Study of American Catholicism. Thanks so much, Professor Cummins, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm sure this has been a very busy time leading up to this visit. A lot going on. I know the Catholic Church in recent years has lost members who feel alienated by sexual abuse scandals, exclusion of women from the priesthood, gay relationships, even birth control. Pope Francis seems to be making the effort to bridge the gap between the church and those members. Do you think it's working?
Pope Francis is absolutely trying and succeeding to bridge that gap. He has focused on, since the beginning of his pontificate, really, he's focused on the things that the church says yes to instead of the things that the church says no to. And it's a message that resonates with a lot of Americans, Catholic and non-Catholic.
And what do you think that non-Catholics can gather from this visit in particular?
Non-Catholics can gather a great deal from that. Pope Francis, when he speaks, is not speaking only to Catholics, although that has a particular resonance with Catholics, of course, but he's speaking to people of goodwill, all people who are trying to discern the message of the gospel, what that means in a particular culture. So while Pope Francis's message is consistent, in other words, he's coming as a pastor, not as a politician, to this particular country, he's very attentive to the local context. So when he comes here, when he arrives, he will be speaking to all Americans. And I think encouraging and inspiring Americans to think about what his message, what the gospel message means in our nation. I think in particular, he's going to call upon Americans to be the moral leaders, the city on a hill that we say we are, to live up to the ideals we express on issues like immigration, to close the gap between the ideals and reality.
All right, well, hopefully it will be a positive, uplifting visit no matter what. Professor Cummins, thank you so very much for your time today.
And Eyewitness News reporters Jenny Ranovich is in Washington, D.C. today. She will bring reports on the Pope's visit all week. And Chris Kirshner will join her later this week in Philadelphia, following Hoosiers who have made the journey there. And we're going to hear from those Hoosiers coming up today on Eyewitness News at 5:30. You're going to want to stay tuned for that.